So talking about menstrual health management policies with respect to the legal recognition in India, so far we don't have any national or standard legal framework because there is no legal recognition of the rights in India. And in fact, research has shown that giving legal recognition to something like menstrual health management policies ensures that state and central governments are able to make better policies, which then have better implementation results as well. In this regard, in India, in 2018, we had a private vendors bill which came to the parliament. It was in fact put forward by Dr. Shashi Tharoor, and it talked about it was called the Women's Sexual, Reproductive and Menstrual Rights Bill 2018, which proposed that all schools and colleges should ensure that menstrual hygienic products, that is sanitary pads, the most common ones, they should be made freely available for all girl students in both schools and colleges to ensure that when it comes to their education, period products or menstruation, or lack of access to period products is not a problem. And in fact, this bill suggested that this be done under the purview of the Right to Education Act 2009, which was very interesting and a very good provision, in fact. Another provision under this bill also talked about how sanitary products should be a part of every public institution, and they should ensure that period friendly places, workplaces are made available for all women. So those are some good points of this bill, but there were certain flaws too. One of which was the fact that the bill did not take into consideration the fact that period products so far are not recognized as essential items under the Essential Commodities Act. So that speaks volumes about how we at present moment perceive women's menstrual needs and menstrual rights, so to say, in India. So of course there is no standard framework, as I already said. Also, since it is not recognized as an essential item, there are when you see period products, the way sanitary pads are extremely expensive, and now everyone knows that GST has been removed, and yet the way they are priced, it's of course it's not within the reach of everyone. So that said, government also talks about it. Some of you might think that now we have the Jan Aushadhi stores, and for those of you who don't know about this policy, government also came out with a policy that to make period products more available for all of us. We have Jan Aushadhi stores which have very minimally priced sanitary pads available for all women. But the availability and the way this policy is implemented, it's quite haphazard for the entire country, and it varies. Also, the quality of such cheaply available pads, they are as cheap as rupees one, in fact, a pack. But our own surveys have shown that these products are not preferred by most women because they do not soak blood well and they are not actually period friendly, though they are overtly cheaply available. That said, today we will talk about, as soon as our guest joins us, and she's also a lawyer. So, in this respect, legal recognition, we will talk about what legal frameworks can we see and what should be the way to ensure that under the Constitution of India, we can have a right to menstrual health. So, we'll talk about that with Shobha, and I'm told that she'll be joining us in another 2 minutes maximum. So, that was me giving you a background of the legal framework. Apart from that, we'll also talk about the period policy, leave policy, that because of the latest policy that Zomato came out with is much talked about. But once again, India does not have a standard period leave policy, which is strange because Asia, and specifically Southeast Asian countries like Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, and Indonesia, they have a standard period leave policy as a part of their framework, labor laws, in fact, at the national level. Whereas, interestingly, the much more developed, or so as we believe, the European countries, none of them have a standard period leave policy either, just like India. So, unlike our Asian counterparts, we are much like European countries with no standard period leave policy. And in fact, a lot of you might also have heard about the much talked about period leave policy that Italy was trying to come out with in 2017. That did not go through. So Italy also has no standard period leave policy, even though they tried to get a uniform framework in this regard. So we'll also try to understand what our standard period leave policies should look like, some of the aspects of those if we can define for our policies. Another point to be noted in this regard is that a large um, number of women, a large percentage of our labor force that has women, they are employed in the informal sector of labor. So we'll talk about that too. I think Shobha has joined us now. Good evening, Shobha. So we are trying to get Shobha on board. I think there is some problem with her internet connection yet, but like I already gave you the background of our conversation today. So we'll take all these aspects into consideration as we talk about a policy framework at a national level and the legal recourse as it should be for India for a standard period leave policy and a standard menstrual health policy as well. Hi Shobha, can you hear me? Good evening. Good evening, Shobha. Can you hear me now?
Hi, hi, hi.
Hi.
Tanya, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you and I can hear you too. I hope it's the same for you. You can hear me and see me clearly.
Yes, yes. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Actually,
Okay.
I got a new phone yesterday, so I was just uh,
That's all right. I use
I'm so
time to
sorry.
give
I'm
our
so,
audience
so
I use the time to give our audience a background of the context in which we'll be talking today. So that's all right. So I
yes.
welcome all of you and Shobha, you too. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I think I'm going to straight right into dive into the questions because yeah, we have lesser time on hand now. So we are to talk about the legal framework, Shobha, as it should exist for a standard period policy. And here, I'm not yet going to the period leave aspect of it, but generally, when we talk about menstrual health management policies, then we have to talk about it in terms of a right to menstrual health, of which India has no legal recognition so far. So, and as I already told our audience that there was a private members bill that came out in 2018, and it had some aspects of providing free sanitary products and making public institutions period friendly, but it did not go through. So in this respect, my question to you is, do you think there is scope to include the right to menstrual health under our fundamental rights in India? One, and two, when we go to directive principles of state policy, Article 42, which gives state the duty to provide for uh, good work spaces for all people. So under Article 42 can be invoked this article of the Constitution to talk about a standard period leave policy and make workplaces safer and convenient for all women.
Okay. So, Tanya, first of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my views on this subject because this discussion should have been, centuries ago. So, but that's okay. We are having it right now, and it is the current topic. One of like these days, this is one of the current topics, and there is a kind of debate on this whether a certain group of people are opposing it as well. So so before answering to the question whether there is a scope of uh, right to menstrual health in fundamental right, so before answering that, I would like to discuss whether see what possibly menstrual health constitutes. So it can the menstrual health can broadly be looked at well-being of women and girls and transgenders during the time of menstruation, at the time of menorrhea, as well as during the time of pregnancy, childbirth, postpartum changes, and menopause. So when I say well-being, I also mean to include menstrual health management, which I will be discussing eventually.
Yeah.
So when there is already when there is already we have seen like wide end number of judgments. The Supreme Court has included right to health under the purview of Article 21 of the Constitution. So
Yes.
so right to health also has not been directly incorporated as a fundamental right in the Constitution, but I believe that right to menstrual health can come under the umbrella of right to health. This is how I see it, because right to right to life as enshrined in Article 21 has various other related rights. For example, right to livelihood, right to pollution free air, and so forth. So right to menstrual health has not been talked specifically under this area, but it can safely find a significant place under right to health. So yes, I see that there is a scope of right to menstrual health in right to health as recognized in Article 21 of the Constitution. So and yeah, with respect to directive principles of state policy, of course we do not have a clear fundamental right as like we do not have a clear fundamental right as a right to menstrual health, but we but a duty is of course imposed on states under Article 42 of the Constitution, which basically offers just and humane conditions. So and okay, yes, interestingly, there is a piece of proposed legislation on this titled as menstruation benefit bill, which was passed which was
lapsed in 2017.
Yeah. So it was under it's still under discussion, under review, but what it seeks to offer is 2 days of menstrual or period paid leave monthly, as well as safer workplace to women in both private as well as public sectors. So and okay, apart from this, state of Bihar has already it has already implemented this provision way back in 1992. Yes, 1992. So and okay, so this provision was implemented because of the result of around a month long strike by nearly 6 lakh employee, including women employee who demanded who demanded better salaries, as well as toilet facilities for women, crashes at workplaces. So there has been a need of safer and convenient workplace. So we cannot ignore that. And it is high time that the states and our legislations must acknowledge the need of safer workplaces and convenient workplaces by including the concept of period leave policy in the existing structure.
Yes. So clearly there is scope under the Constitution, both under DPSP as well as the right to, fundamental rights. And you have already talked about the bill that was and is still under consideration in the Parliament, which is to do with the standard period leave policy. So what's interesting is that there are countries in the Southeast Asia, which I was already talking about, they already have period leave as part of their labor laws. So when we talk about India, I think we can also somewhere look at making this a part of our labor legislations at the center and state level, because there will also be then a differentiation if we talk about central labor laws and state labor laws.
Hmm.
So keeping these factors in mind, and also keeping in mind the bill which you already talked about, if we were to look at a standard period leave policy at a national level, so to say, what will be some of the aspects that you think should definitely be included in such a standard period leave policy? One, and in this regard, we obviously have to talk about women in the informal sector, which make a larger percentage of women who are employed in India. They are part of the informal sector. So what kind of policies that can we have when we talk about safer workplaces, and in this regard, in line with period leave policy, can there be any legal recourse so that women even in the informal sector can have access to a period leave policy? I know it's a little exaggerated, the visual thinking when I talk about period leave policy for women in informal sector, because informal sector women don't have any rights per se. But even if we were to look at including them in this framework, what kind of legal recourses or legal options can we look at there? I would like to know these two from you.
Okay, so let's first try to understand. Let's not call it as uh, an exaggerated thing, right? See, first of all, we need to understand that why do women need period leave? Simply because women get periods and women need period leave. All right. So, for example, so if and why do we come to that why do women need period leaves, be in informal sector or in private companies or any other employment sector? There see, menstruation is different from person to person. There have been cases, there are cases where women suffer from various health related issues, menstruation related issues, for example, dysmenorrhea or anemia, fatigue, fizziness, PCOD, irregular or excessive bleeding. So we need to understand that why uh, see, studies have already shown that one of 10 women suffer through PCOD or dysmenorrhea, and dysmenorrhea is one of the it has been proved as one serious gynecological issue which has contributed to absenteeism from school or work. So let's understand that there is a need of including this period leave policy, and and for that we really need to get over from this misconception that women and girls and transgenders have diminished capacities, whether physical or emotional, due to menstrual cycles, and they should not be refrained from taking up certain jobs owing to menstrual cycles, as well as they should not so an ideal period leave policy which I look at is it should begin from discussion at the workplaces. And so because the neglect and ignorance towards this issue, because of the lack of discussion, we have seen it has been overlooked by policymakers, decision makers, educators, and even the medical establishment. So again, it's as of now it's a wishful thinking that in the informal sectors as well as the formal sectors, uh, we should have a right to period leave as period leave. But we actually have to see that, as I said in the beginning, that rights to menstruation health as well as menstruation management. So menstruation management includes wherein the the access, wherein women and girls have access to sanitation facilities, sanitary napkin disposers, safety, and safe place of disposals, and proper medication facility, etc. So I think that, as I said, an ideal policy should begin from discussion, and when and and the workplaces should be well equipped to provide their employees to uh, menstrual supplies in the informal sectors, like for example, sanitary cloths, sanitary napkins, and sanitation facilities, in short.
But Shobha, is why I wondered if there is a legal recourse for this too, because generally, as we already talked about, the informal sector, and I call it exaggerated precisely for that reason, because they don't even have a basic social security scheme or anything that's followed for women or recognized in the informal sector. But in this respect, if we were to talk about giving wash facilities to women in informal sector, do you think there is a legal framework that we can go under, or there is a legal recourse, whether it's
Okay.
as a legal right or a constitutional right? Can it
So
exist that way?
as of now, we do not see any legal recourse to it. But there has been various government schemes or programs. For example, Sabla program. There is a WASH scheme. There are various schemes, like with the help of self-help group, various ministries like Ministry of Child, Women and Child Development, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. They keep on try to engage rural people with the help of self-help groups. But here, when you are talking about legal recourse, I think like there are n number of policies on this which talk, even the recent right, RCTE, right to compulsory uh, right to health education, and so it also talks about general awareness about menstruation health management. But there is no legal recourse to it, and these schemes have time and again failed to provide what they promised in the beginning. So when, if at all we will have this policy in our structure, there has to be the accountability has to be decided. Accountability in, for example, uh, see, there was like before coming Vishakha versus state of Rajasthan, much famous case, which literally paved the way for for combating sexual harassment at workplace. There, like owing to that decision, we now have a sexual harassment committee at workplaces, and there is a regular discussion happening owing to because of the guidelines say so. And of course there is an act of it, and so there they have, so till now we have achieved this much, I think. So in order to take a legal recourse to this, I think we need to decide an accountability. So, and if that happens, see, there are a lot of things in the world which everything has a misuse to it. So uh, only because something can be misused, it doesn't mean that it should not be implemented, right?
Yes.
So I think that by deciding the accountability of uh, employers, maybe this this can be worked out.
Okay. So now I'll go to audience questions, Shobha. So Mrigakshi is asking, before we actually talk about a legal or a policy framework, is it important, is it not necessary that women need awareness about this issue, because a lot of them remain ignorant? And another part of she also has, interestingly, she has built on the same question further, and she asks, would a policy actually work or would have a support if women don't actually visualize it as a need or a right? Because what I feel is that women feel that this thing is attached to them and nobody can do anything. So yeah, this is talking about how women sometimes push themselves further. And in this regard, if I can also add my own question to you, and you can then take them all together, that a lot of women have been claiming ever since we are talking about a period leave policy that somewhere my right to privacy or my right to conceal my own period, and I don't want my workplace colleagues to know that I'm going through my periods. So hence there is no need for a standard period policy. Do you think any of that is a valid ground to actually deny a standard framework for period leave policy? If we can answer those questions together.
Okay, first of all, I agree to what was the first question, that there is actually a great need of talking about this menstruation, and I'm really glad to be about part of this conversation as well, because menstruation has still been considered as a taboo. Okay, so okay, we need to understand that menstruation is not only it should not be looked at as a problem. It should not be looked at as a disease. It's a symptom, and it happens. It like there's and and see, it is basically see, I don't need to talk much about what menstruation is, but see, um, let us try not to consider it as a taboo anymore, uh, because see, there is no point compromising with your own health in the first place, and because of the lack of discussion, it has left many young and adolescent girls with period poverty. It has left with like period poverty, and because of the shame of or shame or lack of awareness, they have to go through a lot. So so this general awareness is actually needed, so that we can actually bring we can actually bring and put our needs on table, acknowledge them, and demand them as well as get them. So okay,
But
so
in this regard, yeah, if the next question you can take that up. If what about if women actually want to conceal their period and think that no, I don't need my colleagues to know about
rights
this,
to
so let's
privacy.
not talk
So,
about a
okay,
standard. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so let's take an example. For example, I want to exercise my right to privacy. I don't want others to know that I am going through period. But by doing that, I am, I cannot uh, interfere a mechanism which is going to be applicable on all of us, and which is going to affect your right as well. So by okay, I understand that many of us do not want to share that we are going through periods, and many of us have in the past taken period leaves by saying that, by calling it a sick leave. So that is understood, but let's try that, uh, let's try to understand that there's nothing shameful about having period, and uh, there's nothing which there's no stigma. It is all, because our past generations have gone through it, and they have tried to uh, uh, like, we have been conditioned in a manner that talking about periods uh, or discussing about periods is something that is forbidden.
Okay,
So
Shobha, I'll
let's
quickly go to the next questions because there are a couple of more questions which are talking about the
okay.
period leave policy that we are contemplating. So Shashank asks that employers might be reluctant to hire women if we go for a standard, or we're looking for a standard period leave policy, because then it'll be costly. Wouldn't it be costlier to hire women if they are looking for these additional leaves too? And in the same vein, if I can also add another question by Ankita, which talks about, does period leave, it's a question that, does it reinforce the idea that women are the weaker sex, and won't it stereotype them more for people who actually want to consider that women are physically not fit or not capable of taking up everything that men can at the workplace? What do you have to say about these?
So these, see, this has been a challenge. This has been a challenge since beginning, and even while extending maternity leave from
Hmm.
three months to 6 months, this remained as a challenge, and this is, that is also a that is still debatable,
Hmm.
right? But see, I think I still believe that this will keep happening for, and for the next generation as well. But here I think that we, again, as I've mentioned earlier, that here by see, this has left women in uh, like in a situation wherein women who complain of pain, or women uh, yeah, women who complain of pain, of period pain or otherwise, they're considered as weak. So this whole thing comes from the policy, from the idea of distrust towards women. So let's try to understand that everything begins from empathy and compassion. So while we say that employers will be reluctant to hire women, this has been happening. Like, this is not the first time. Only because period leave policy will be implemented, uh, employers will stop hiring women. This has been happening, this is no new thing, but that does not
Hmm.
actually, that should not stop us from
Hmm.
implementing uh, a a legislation which is favorable to women, and not only favorable, it is the need of the time. Also, when okay see, we need to understand also that we have recently hit by a pandemic, wherein we have seen that what we are like one of the worst hit economies, and we have actually seen that what here, it has also given us an opportunity to contemplate that what matters the most. I mean, we live in a capitalist world. So okay, let's give me one example.
Shubha,
Like,
I'm so sorry to cut you short, but just 4 minutes heads up. 4 minutes left, so we'll have
okay,
to
okay,
wrap up quickly.
okay. So what I am trying to convey is
Hmm.
that you cannot run economy without women. So
Hmm.
if you are so reluctant to hire women because of because you're afraid or apprehended that women will be taking more leaves, you actually need to
Hmm.
be more compassionate and acknowledge it as a need which should have been addressed
Hmm.
many years ago.
Hmm. Okay, yeah. And I think there was another question which I think we have already answered when we talk about informal sector and how can we ensure that there's anything on the lines of a standard period leave policy. I think Shivangi's question is answered when you talked about accountability, and even in the
Mhm.
legal recourse measure, we can just fix accountability and see that employers can do something about women's needs in related to menstruation in this regard. So I
And
think
also,
with that,
one,
I
one,
am, yeah,
one
yes,
one more point, one more point, when you talked
very
about
quickly.
like employers hiring, employers being reluctant. See,
Hmm.
here we do know that there is the already existing structure has
Hmm.
the kind of holidays like privileged leave, earned leave, casual leave, sick leave. Not all the leaves are taken in a year,
Yes.
right? For example, privileged leave or earned leave, they can be encashed at the end of the year. So not all the leaves are taken in an year. So this, this can be adjusted, but we need to understand that period leave should be termed as period leave, and it should uh, it should be different than sick leave. Sick leave is one. Sick leave is taken because when you're sick. Now, as I said
Mm-hmm.
already, that periods, when you're menstruating, you're not like you're not sick. You're that's a symptom of menstruation. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
disease, right?
Okay,
Okay,
yeah. So I think that with that, I will have to wrap up, Shobha. Thank you so much for
okay.
joining us today, and thank you everyone who joined us today. And I hope it was an insightful conversation. And thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Shobha. I will end with that. Bye bye.
Bye.